Alright, so bear with me, the wind is picking up, so it's causing some interference with audio. Hopefully you can hear me over that. But for the exterior scene of Johnny and Joni walking into Becker Hall, we do have this one building here, Founders Hall, on the Clarion University campus, right on Wood Street and Arnold Avenue, right there on the intersection. The Eagle Commons Dining Hall is right next door, as well as Hart Chapel, and it is only a couple meters away from the intersection of Main Street. So, this is one of the bigger buildings on campus. STC, probably larger lengthwise, but this has more of an appealing appearance. Perhaps that's what more you're going for. Again, it's approximately 3 stories high. 2 stories are used for classrooms. So, again, it has kind of more of an appealing appearance than, say, the STC. Excuse me. And overall, pretty solid building. As you can see, police drive by, so police make daily rounds. Fairly safe grounds, of course, it's on a university grounds. So, in safety concerns, not much to worry about. Even you could close off the street if need be. So, it's not much of a concern. As for facilities, though, it's pretty ideal. As I said before, the Eagle Commons Dining Hall is right next door, so during lunch or after shooting, that would be an opportune place to go. Also, right across the street at the intersection of Main Street and Wood Street, there's a Wendy's, so again, another food facility if you don't want to take, buy food for production. Also, restroom facilities for both those places. There's also a gas station right next door and a 7-Eleven, and there's a plaza behind here that houses other food facilities, so if those are what you need, they're right there. Other than that, electrical considerations, though it's hard to see from this wide shot, over there, right over there are some outlets, so if you need outlets for electrical means for any reason, they're right there. Also, right across from the building, Carlson Library, there are electrical outlets as well. Kind of far, kind of stretching it, no pun intended, in trying to get those outlets, but they are there if the situation does arise to use those. As I said before, safety is pretty solid in regards to that. Surrounding businesses shouldn't present a problem, as I said before. These are university buildings, so all part of the same thing. Carriers, halls next door as well, and again, shouldn't present a problem. May get some, from some of the public businesses such as the Wendy's and that, maybe some rowdy people, but if closed off or shot correctly, they shouldn't present a problem as well. There are numerous parking facilities or areas right next to Hart Chapel, which is right next to Founders Hall. There is a parking lot, so anything, we can use that. There's also a parking lot right next to Eagle Commons, which is actually right next to Founders, so again, there's a couple parking lots there. However, there is a parking limit time designation, so perhaps those aren't ideal. There's also a parking lot, it's student parking next to the dorm. It is possible, but again, because it's student parking, perhaps not ideal. So the best bet, I would say, would be the parking lot next to Hart Chapel. Other than that, the admissions facility is about a quarter of a mile from here, so if there are any difficulties or you need to talk to the Clarion University staff, head and such, they are right there, very convenient. So overall, pretty solid, the size is pretty grand. Safety shouldn't be a problem, electrical outlets are provided, and there are plenty of facilities for food, emergency, or restroom facilities. So as you can see, this is the classroom scene for when Johnny or conversely Joni go into their respective classrooms. We're in Founders right now on the first floor in room 114. So not too much distance to cover, and since there are stairs to the second floor, it doesn't present a problem in moving equipment as it's right here on the first floor. So as you can see, it's a fairly large room. It's about 15 feet high, 20 feet in length, so pretty spacious. The lighting, this is the natural lighting right here, not bad. I would recommend a couple more lights though to get a general feel. There are 8 windows here that put out natural light. So right now, currently, except for the one up front, right there, they are all closed with blinds. So if you want to get rid of those, or if you want to add light, you can do so. As I said before, though, the key thing right here is that there is a front door right over there. So when Johnny walks through that door, it's going to be pretty hard to avoid the professor. So, and also it's a good thing, some of the classrooms there's some distance, but with this shot right here in this classroom, the door is like right there, right next to the professor. So kind of makes it unavoidable a lot. So there are fairly a lot of desks, but of course you can move them if you want, or you can keep them for, say, an establishing shot or the shot where they all start singing happy birthday. So that's there. It's about 6 rows of 8 seats. As you can see, it's fairly big. So shouldn't be a problem to get a sizable amount of class or people in here. As for power, luckily, a ton of outlets. As you can see right there, we have an outlet right there. We have an outlet right there. There's an outlet just a bit over there, as well as the opposite side. And there's some outlets in the front right there in case you want to get like extra lights on a shot of the entire classroom. So a ton of outlets. If you need power or any of the lightings, I mean, this is an ideal place. Other than that, there are facilities. The bathroom is literally right next to this room. So if any of the talent or the crew are desperate, restroom's right there. So other than that, in all honesty, a pretty solid place. The sound, a little bit of an echo, regular classroom kind of acoustics, but shouldn't present a problem. Other than that, not much to say. There's a pretty solid place. Your front door right there, classroom right here. Could be used for either of the scenes featuring Johnny and Joni walking into their respective classrooms. We're going to give another shot here of the classroom. A better shot, actually. That was kind of establishing, but here we're going to give a little more detail. As you can see right up front here, we have the doorway in which Johnny or Joni will be standing in front of, right next to the professor, so they can interrupt or, celebrate. Then as we come over here, you can see just how large this classroom is. A ton of chairs. Again, you could fit a lot of students up there to further the scene if you wanted, but just a large classroom in general. But overall, this room pretty decent. The door placement's ideal. Classroom size is fairly large. Electrical outlets are decent. Light itself isn't too shady. This is actually natural light right now. And if you need some additional lighting, there are 8 windows in this facility, so not bad. Alright, as you can see, we're in another classroom, so in case you don't want to use the same classroom twice for Johnny or Joni scenes, you can use this classroom as well. So, like the other room, fairly similar. There are some slight differences, which I will go over, but other than that, it's fairly similar. Pretty spacious, as you can see. There's a desk right there for the professor, the doors right there for the interruption or in front of the entire classroom. The classroom itself, fairly spacious, just like the other classrooms, but very, very similar. However, there are some differences, mainly concerning the furniture pieces, like the desk right here, as well as the student desks, are actually a lighter color of wood than in the last scene. The last scene was pretty dark. These are fairly light, so something to consider. If you want to perhaps move the furniture from the other door or other room, you could do that. This also is in Founders on the first floor, room 116. So again, equipment fairly accessible. You don't have to go upstairs or anything like that. So it can be done. Other than that, there are some other differences as well, such as there are only 4 windows as opposed to the 8 in the other room, so a little less light. Also, there is a blackboard on the right side of the wall that the other room did not have. If shot, though, from a certain angle, you can eliminate that completely, but it is something to make note of in difference-wise. Other than that, it's fairly the same size, 15 by 20, I would say. Although, like the other room, I forgot to mention, the lighting. These are the lights that are used, so in case of equipment, those might pose a problem. You have your projector there as well, so something to consider when setting up lights and that, or your boom mic, anything of that sort. Speaking of lights as well, there are, like the other room, there are a fair amount of outlets. Right over there is an outlet. We have a couple right there. They're all over the room, so easily accessible if you need any kind of power. Also for facilities, this, as I stated before, is on the first floor. There's a restroom that is fairly nearby. It's a little further away from than the other room, but accessible. It's not like completely, can't get there. It's right there. And then that sounds pretty much the same. And you might want to take that into consideration. Lighting's the same. You can, there are blinds on the windows as well, so if you want to eliminate those, you can do that. Overall, though, fairly similar to the other room, except for the fact the furniture is slightly different, so if you want to use a different room, you can use this. Swap furniture if you want. Just overall, perhaps something you're looking for. Last scene, of course, is the hallway scene, the fork in the hallway, which one of these is one of the more difficult to find, but I think I found a pretty good one. Now, before we get into anything, we'll say that this is not in Founders Hall. Founders Hall does not possess a hallway quite like this, and to be frank, neither do either of the any buildings, like Davis or anything. So, the one building that did have this is right here, Becker Hall, on Clarion campus, right next to Greenville, also near Heydrich Street. And honestly, on campus, this is the best you're going to get with a fork in the hallway. So you can clearly see down one hallway, and there's another down there. Now with this shot, you do see some exterior windows, but I think we can get away with that. It's far enough, and also it can have the appearance, if done properly, of, say, Founders, like an exit to Founders or whatnot. Also, it shouldn't present too much of a problem in the classroom scenes because, as you can see, the rooms are basic white color, which are colors of Founders. Also, in the scenes with Johnny and Joni both entering the class, the only thing you'll see in the door frame is white walls. So I think you can get away with using this for that. Now, as to the aesthetics, the room's probably 9 feet in height. As you can see, the lights, these are the lights that are used. They give off a very flat look about them. And there are plenty of outlets though, like over there's black specks right there. Those are outlets. And we also, if you look right over here, there is an outlet right there. So if you want to set up some lights, boom mic, whatever, and plug it in there, it's there. Other than that, facilities are close by, as you can see by that sign right there. That's the men's restroom, so if any of the cast and talent that are men need to go in there, they can. And the women's is right down that hallway, so both are fairly in proximity, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Now, of course, as you might be thinking, why not just shoot everything here at Becker? One is, I think, because Founders looks more aesthetically pleasing, and also the classroom is far more appealing to the eye, and many of these classrooms are in the dark, where I think in the Founders you have some windows there, so it looks kind of lively, and it doesn't look too bad. So honestly, I think Founders classroom would be a better option to shoot than one of the Becker classrooms, but that's not my decision anyway. Also, there is an elevator in the back, so if you want Johnny and Joni exiting from somewhere, there's an elevator right there. There are elevators in Founders as well, so something to consider, I suppose. But yeah, there is that. Sound-wise, pretty average. Nothing too much to worry about in that department. Maybe some stray students, but if you can close this off, that won't be a problem whatsoever. So other than that, I think you could get away with this being Founders Hall. Just for this one shot, we could shoot this last. Like, we could do all the Founders shots, then get this one in.